Hey everyone, good morning. We are live here for the daily drop-in morning show with the Teach Better team. We get to be live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. And we kind of get into some shenanigans. We always have a good news story, and especially today because it is Friday with Brad Hughes, January 14th. We'll be recapping the show and talking shop. So stick with us. Looks like we are not currently streaming on Twitter like we like to, but we do think that once we play the commercial, we are going to be good to go. So cross your fingers, friends. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. It looks like we are not streaming on our Teach Better Team Twitter, but I did just share the stream because we are streaming on my personal account at Rae Hewert. So all the options that we have, if anybody is struggling to find the show, we just want to give a shout out to all of you who did find it. Thank you that you're here. If you wouldn't mind sharing this stream on the platform that you're on, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, it always helps us reach all of our viewers. Brad Hughes, happy Friday.
Rae Hewert, happy Friday to you, friend. Hope it's been a good week. It's been a strong week. It's been an impactful week for me and for our viewers and listeners here on the DDI. So I'm excited, always excited to get Friday started with you, friend. How are you doing and how was your week?
You know, week has been good. Busy week, to be honest. And then I was telling you before we came live, I was up late last night. I think on our agenda today we need to talk about sleep. So that's coming on our to-do list. But one of the things I will say, you know, daily drop-in is always so fun. I always love recapping with you. It does get my day started. So I really do appreciate kind of the structure of having this every morning. The guests this week were like out of this world, and I really enjoyed this week's content. Not to say that I don't always enjoy every single conversation we have, but this week just stuck out as maybe one of my favorite weeks total, which really says something, I think.
It's awesome when our weekly theme aligns with the goals and the priorities and just who our guests are as human beings. You know, our focus this week on bold conversations and taking that first step to have a conversation that's going to make a difference for you or your family, your loved ones, your community, or especially your kids. And each of our guests brought the fire this week, right?
Well, and that's what I love. You know, we set these themes knowing that our guests will be able to speak to them to some extent, but every single conversation had a different perspective on the same topic. So I was shocked that when we say, oh, bold conversations, I think some typical things come to mind. And it seemed like every day we were looking at the concept of a bold conversation differently, which to me really adds to a wealth of exploration. So I really valued that, and I'm excited to recap it with you later on in the show. It'll be so fun.
I am too. I reflect on the fact that the boldness of the conversation is in the eye of the beholder. That is even small matters that come to mind that might provide peace of mind for you can sometimes be very, very difficult to bring up. And so I try and coach the people that I work with and connect with. Anything that might ease your mind, Rae, anything at all is worth bringing forward, because if it can ease your mind, that gives you the headspace to take more important next steps. But it really is funny. I ask you and ask everyone to reflect on how many times we might keep something even that we consider small bottled up because of the risk of how it might be received. So excited to dig into that with you again and to recap a great week.
Oh, no, I honestly, I really appreciate it. I always love on our Fridays that we can recap and help me process everything that's happened, but also obviously give our viewers a little insight in case they didn't catch every single show this week. This week is definitely one to make sure you go back and listen. Whether you go back and listen on Teach Better Talk podcast, just via the podcast, or just go to our YouTube stores all of these shows in a playlist. You can actually click one of them and they will all play. So you can have them on throughout the day if you're interested. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah, Rae, I call it live or later. You can catch us live every morning, 7 Eastern, or you can catch us later in any number of ways. And gosh, I think we're excellent companions for a drive home or for cooking dinner when you get home from work, or maybe a lunch break or something at school if you've got some prep time, some planning time, something that you can have on in the background as you get your classroom ready or as you get your office ready and set up for the morning.
Yes, I totally agree. Good morning to Rachel in the comments. Good to see you sharing your good morning messages with us. We appreciate it. Brad, I have so many things in my head I want to talk to you about. One that I want you to know is that I have been struggling. I've been trying to quote you um all day yesterday. I was trying to quote you, and
Yeah,
live or later I like. I'm gonna steal that one. But
please.
I will tell people that that's your phrase. You say a phrase. Help me remember. You say a phrase during mastermind because you run our evening mastermind every single week for the Teach Better team, which, by the way, if you're an administrator or a leader in some way in your building, you should join our administrator mastermind. You can go register free for that at teachbetter.com/mastermind. Brad, you say something that cues the group to bring up their topics. So it's a simple format where people can just bring their questions every single week. What's the phrase you say? You have a really nice like phrase that comes to mind.
Rae, I want to just start by saying any phrase that comes to your mind, if you put the word "a" at the end, then you can consider me quoted as your Canadian friend here in the Great White North. But what I will say is when we're talking with our mastermind leaders, as you said, it's a space for people to bring forward their problems of practice. So I invite, or our facilitators invite people to bring forward their problems of practice. And as you frequently say on the daily drop in, when we shift to the brainstorm bank, what do you need? And how can we help? And what I will say is Rae Hewitt, you made a huge difference to me this week as a result of your presence and influence in the masterminds, because both of us were reflecting on what was a pretty heavy mastermind with our school leaders experiencing all kinds of situations that are really out of their control, but yet they need to put the pieces back together for their people. And what your focus that really was impactful for me was shifting from what we wish was happening and what is actually within our control. What do we wish was happening? That's completely out of our control. And heaven knows there's enough emotion around all of the things that we wish were happening or should be happening or ought to be happening. You helped me to reframe that night and reframe for the rest of the week. Let's focus on what we can do, what's within our capacity to do. What, if nothing else, how we show up and how we frame these tense situations, these challenging situations, that is absolutely within our control. So anyway, you made a huge difference for me, friend. And I'm carrying that forward as we go into our next mastermind. It's going to be, what do you need? How can we help? And let's keep the focus on what is possible.
No, I appreciate it. And that's problems of practice. That was the phrase I was needing. That's a great phrase. I love those two words together. I need to write that down after the show. But no, I appreciate it, Brett. Yeah, mastermind this week. I know that we're not necessarily here to recap
Hmm.
it, but that was a struggle of that evening
Hmm.
mastermind. And I say that to add some context if you're listening and you weren't there. All these administrators, school administrators, public school administrators are coming together at 7 o'clock in the evening, meaning they worked a full day, and none of their conversation was incorrect. But the focus of the conversation was, oh my gosh, we have a sub shortage. What are we going to do to retain our teachers? And how do we deal with like extreme weather? And it was really problems that I'm a positive thinker, and I wasn't trying to be negative either, but I'm like, I literally don't know the answer. Like, this space is for brainstorming. And I think the struggle was that with the administrators that were there, we can't control extreme weather. We can't control right this moment the answer to calling in tomorrow because there is no teachers in the building. Like, it wasn't that they were unwilling to brainstorm. I just felt like that group was struggling because we were talking about problems that were literally happening tomorrow that were
Hmm.
causing so much anxiety and stress. And so, yeah, I feel like the only way to cope with that is acknowledge the problem, but then say, okay, within all that being said, is there anything we can control tomorrow? And I'm
Yeah,
I'm,
and
I'm
what I really admire about that team and that space, Rae, is there's absolutely space for us to empathize and say, that is really hard. That is really hard what you're experiencing. We understand, and to give people an opportunity just to be companions for each other in the very challenging work that we're doing. It's making that shift though that is crucial as we continue to go forward. And in our province in Ontario, our schools are scheduled. Our students are scheduled to return face to face on Monday in the midst of Omicron, in the midst of, increasing community spread and hospitalization. There's a lot of concern from parents, educators, and kids. So what we need to do, the utmost thing we need to do right now is, again, shift from what we wish was happening or what we feel should be happening and what is actually happening. We're going to get a real good grounding in what the reality of the situation is, what is within our control, providing good information for staff members and community members. What's within our control, showing up with a positive, warm, safe welcome for kids. But before we can offer that, Rae, we've got to make sure we're looking after each other. We've got to look after our own fears and needs so that we have a hope of being patient, responsive, and kind when the stress is high and when kids return in person.
Oh, yeah, so important. I just feel like, one of my favorite things this is so funny. One of my favorite things that my principal last year was doing is that when you felt the stress really high in the building, he brought in donuts. And I know that's so silly because I can go buy my own stinking donut, but donuts taste better when they're brought in by the principal. I don't know why, friends. I wish it wasn't true. I'm sorry to all the principals out there that have to carry packages of donuts, but a pink sprinkle-filled donut just tastes better when Christopher McGraw buys it. That's all I'm saying. It just does.
Sounds like surprise and care are a couple of your love languages, Rae. And surprise is absolutely one of my love languages. And when you do something unexpected that's going to lighten someone's moment or brighten their day or ease their load, or even just coming alongside someone with a little bit of a surprise, I'm going to cover your yard duty right now, or let's tap out for 10 minutes, go grab a coffee. I'll read the story to your kids, or let me engage in the learning that's going on. Help me learn. I mean, it's that camaraderie, it's that companionship that is going to continue to carry us through. And I agree. Principal donuts taste the best.
They do. Okay, wait, Brad, I've never thought about this. And again, we're totally off topic. I had all these things I want to ask you about, but I don't think I've ever thought about the relationship between love languages in a work environment. I obviously am aware of them the value of them in some regard in an intimate relationship, right? Or even in a relationship with a family member. I've never thought about love languages when it comes to a staff relationship, but that is very important. If you know that members of your staff appreciate some sort of love language specifically, then you can tap into that to really refill their cup. I've never thought about that. What are the 5 love languages? It's like gifts.
I'll need some help too, but I know that gifts,
words of affirmation.
Yep.
Acts of service.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what are the other 2?
Gifts again.
No, physical touch, which I assume is not appropriate in the work environment, unless maybe it's like a high five. That might count. Okay, or like that works. Be careful with COVID. Do the elbow thing.
Right on.
And oh my gosh, service, gifts, aspiration, words, physical touch. Oh my gosh, I'm missing one.
Maybe one of our comments. Yeah, I was going to say maybe one of our viewers can jot it in the comments. And when I think I use love languages as more general rather than a set of 5, Rae. When I say, surprise can be a love language, it's whatever lights the fire inside, whatever gives you that spark. One of my colleagues, Rebecca Fay, who was vice principal, that when we worked together, she actually surveyed our staff. She surveyed to find out what our staff love languages were so that we could be prepared as school leaders to meet people right where they were with what they needed. It kind of reminds me of feedback. Like if one person is expecting a kind of feedback and you provide a different kind and there's a mismatch, it doesn't always hit right. So surveying staff members on what their love languages are, or at least getting to know your staff intimately enough to know what lights their fire, is crucial.
Okay, Brad, is it bad? We missed my favorite one. Like, I think this is my favorite love. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not, but quality time is the other one. So it's words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch, gifts, and quality time. And what I like about this, Brad, and I know we didn't expect to talk about this is kind of a question that you could pose to your staff today that isn't something like, how we do all the big surveys at the beginning of the year, right? Tell us everything about you. We do this with our students all the time. This is a really good, quick, task that is kind of fun to learn about your staff this morning that you could go ask and maybe define what some of these things are in a work context so they really do understand what we're trying to get to. But I like that. That's getting to know your staff. That's getting to know how to best support them. This is valuable
Yeah.
information that then you could apply Monday morning.
100%. And it really dovetails well with how we started our conversation this morning, Ray. Is what do you need and how can we help? I mean, if we ask people how can we help, their mindset may be, well, there might be tasks you can help me with, or there might be information you can provide, but that actually can be how we can help. Is how we can help is spend a couple of minutes with me and just help me unpack my worries, or share a joke with me. That can be part, and as long as we make it explicit that this is actually the information we're seeking, we're giving permission to people to share that information, which again, that might be hard to surface. We talked about, the difficulty of having bold conversations. People may not have been used to being invited by school leaders or colleagues to share that information. There's an element of vulnerability, right? But if we invite it, we make it explicit, and we keep coming back to it persistently but gently. Yeah, we really want to know. No, really, we really want to know, what is your love language? It could make all the difference, Ray.
No, I think that's awesome. For those of you that are listening live with us, I know we have a few of you. I'd love to have you throw in the comments what you think your quote unquote love language is, meaning how do you receive appreciation from others to really feel like, yes, they really understand me. I feel very valued by them. In a work context, I think that's really important. And I kind of agree. Lori says, we did this for small acts of kindness between staff. We put the survey in Binder so staff could look up someone. Oh, interesting. So staff had access to that. I love that. I think small acts of I think acts of service might be mine in a work environment. I don't think it is in a romantic, relationship. That I think that's probably quality time, but I think at a work environment, acts of service is really valuable to me.
I think it's fascinating too, Ray, is there's a real opportunity, and maybe we can pick this up in another week, another theme week with Daily Drop In, is how can we surface love in our workplaces? How can we surface love? How can we put love, like love, out in front of the work we do? How can we state our purpose? Our purpose is to build a loving community. How can we make it comfortable and possible for each other to do that? If that's a hard thing to surface, if you're a school leader or an educator, maybe one way to weave that in is just by an awareness of those love languages. It absolutely has a role. And I'm, if I may be so bold as to say, Ray, it is time for us to put love at the forefront of all we do. Let's get that word love as an action, as a service, as a noun. Let's get all the aspects of love out front in what we do. I don't think our communities have ever needed it more.
I love that call to action. That's so powerful. I guess gifts would constitute my donut. So maybe I'm going to switch
Mhm.
mine. I'm going to say, guys, I really do love a, what are those donuts? Okay. So it's a basic donut,
Yep.
strawberry frosting with the sprinkles. That's the best thing you can give Ray Heward at a school building.
Oh,
I'm just letting you know. I'm just
those are
letting you know.
classic. And when they're fresh and that cake is just kind of honeycombed, you know what I mean? Like it's got those, oh, so good.
Yeah, I also I think we all need a good donut this morning. So don't expect your principal to bring donut, friends. Take it into your own. You have the power to make this happen for you this morning. Go pick up a donut on your way to school. I wish it was
There,
like National Donut Day or something. Don't you think that would be really
well,
good?
I'll tell you, Ray, you and I are in charge of what the holidays are today. So we can sneak that in a couple of times, and maybe at the beginning and at the end. Reminder, it's a National Donut Day today.
I wish it was, but then you're gonna go to like Dunkin' Donuts and be like, hey, Ray Heward and Brad Hughes said today is donut day. Is there like a promotion going on? And the guy behind the counter is gonna be like, no, they lied to you. They made that up.
The guy behind the counter is going to go, I know Brad, I know Ray from the Daily Drop In, right? Yeah, it is National Donut. I heard that today, and there's a special, and you're going to love it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the things that we wish we could make happen in your communities. Brad, it's obviously Friday, and as we head
Mhm.
into a fun weekend, obviously we have some recapping we need to do here on the show before we head into our big day. Do you have plans this weekend that you are excited about? Maybe some relaxation from a busy week?
I have some relaxation, but you might not think it's relaxing, but it is to me. I've got some new furniture to put together, so we're pretty fortunate. We've got a new furniture set to put together, which is going to involve moving some furniture upstairs down, some furniture on the main floor up, and then the new furniture can come in. So it's going to be a nice little nook or entertainment area for the family. And I get in the flow, I get in the zone when I've got a project. It always give me a project, and I'm good to go. But otherwise, taking time to relax and reconnect with family and play with the dog and all that kind of stuff. How about you? Weekend plans for you?
I have a few things I get to do to see my sister, which would
Yeah,
be nice. She's still in town for another week, and then she heads back with my brother-in-law to Scotland at next weekend. So we're kind of finishing up the last leg of their incredible trip. But Brad, I do have to ask about this furniture. So
sure.
when you say putting together furniture, I was so thrilled about last year when my couch came and all I had to do was like attach the legs. Like that was all the building of the furniture versus IKEA. When you get furniture, it's like you're getting each individual piece and it's a lot of steps to put furniture together. Which category are you in for this furniture company?
Kind of in the middle, Ray. So I'm excited that we ordered a sectional furniture from a Canadian company that shipped it in 13 separate boxes. And each box you open, it's a complete section, and basically you assemble it, maybe kind of like Lego pieces. They're integrated, and each box is light enough for one person to carry. So it's open box. Even the boxes are even labeled, and it says something like, "Hi, I'm a seat. Open the arms first." So the box is telling you in a friendly way what should be open first. It seems like a great company, and I'm looking forward to seeing if the furniture is as comfortable as they say online. But yeah, happy to. Well, it's not local; it's a company in Quebec, but it was nice to shop local and nice to support a Canadian company here in my own home setting.
Yes. So I need two things from you. One is I'm going to need a photo or two of this experience. Really, in a perfect world, I'd love for you to take a video, but let's just pretend I need a photo or two evidence with the family that you put furniture
Okay.
together. I want
Okay.
to see what this is like. And then next week, I think we need to remember if you like the furniture, I want us to like hear what the company's name is. So let us know about that next week.
100% happy to. I'll do both. In fact, if our audience demands it,
We demand.
I will live tweet the unpacking. Like the unboxing videos. I could do an
Yes.
unboxing video, Ray. I could put it on the Teach Better the Teach Better Team YouTube channel. Anyway, it could be entertaining or amusing. If nothing else, you can see us all play with the boxes and see what we make box forts out of them at the end. It's going to be a creative and exciting weekend here in the Hughes household.
I love this. I love this. Brad, I'm feeling really good about this story. Should we get into some good news and some holidays?
100%. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Good morning, everyone. We're going to continue with Daily Drop-In. We have some holidays for you, some good news stories. It's going to be fabulous. As far as holidays, Brad, there are some interesting holidays today. Some that you can partake in right away, right off the bat this morning.
Yeah.
Some you might need a little bit of preparation. Maybe you need to handle them this evening. So I'm glad that we are able to report this out at 6:22 Central Time, 7:22 Eastern Time, because you got a lot of the day to celebrate. The first one is National Dress Up Your Pet Day. Brad Hughes, have you ever put a costume on your dog?
We've tried. Yeah, we've tried. It didn't. Dog owners may know that some dogs, for example, don't take the little booties in the winter. They're on and then they're off. And the same with costumes with our Charlie, who's a Bichon poodle. No, we've tried, but it doesn't work. The best we can do is sort of like a winter coat when the temperature is cold. That's about as much as he'll tolerate. But how about you? Have your dogs had costumes on?
I think they're willing to put the costume on. I've only experienced this when like a kid is trying to dress my dogs, and I have my puppy, the Alfred, like loves children, so he will do anything to appease a 4-year-old. But I
Yeah.
will tell you, they become like statues. Like they won't move in it, they won't walk around in it. They look very upset, but they will tolerate it. I don't think I'll be celebrating this holiday, but I would like to see the pictures of those that do.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. It's also, have you ever had a pastrami sandwich?
Yes, actually, we had one last weekend on a pretzel bun, and the pastrami was popped under the broiler with mozzarella cheese before going in the sandwich, and some sauerkraut and some grainy mustard. So, too much
So
information, yeah, but yes.
no, that's exactly what the information I needed, because it's hot pastrami sandwich day today. So
What?
it sounds like
Oh,
you
we
need
were
to
a
go
week
out
early,
and
Ray.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to go get another sandwich. You celebrated early.
fantastic.
Yeah. It's also International Kite Day. I don't know how I
Mhm.
feel about that. I feel like International Kite Day should be in the middle of summer. We should all be challenged to go fly a kite today. If you're in Chicago, flying a kite in 30-degree weather may not be a good idea, but for those of you that have kites and don't have as much ice on the ground right now, maybe you should go fly a kite for International Kite Day.
Ray, I'm thinking that maybe that's a Southern Hemisphere holiday right now. I think of our friend Donna in Australia. Maybe she and her students and colleagues are flying kites down under. But yeah, Chicago at any given time, I think Chicago, the Windy City, that would be a pretty dicey operation.
So true. The other thing I really liked, and Brad, I think I celebrated this holiday early as well. On Wednesday night, I don't know why, because, it was like 8 o'clock in the evening and I probably should have been settling my mind for the day. But I took everything out of my closet and put everything back in my closet, which means I was up until about 1 a.m. because, that's a disaster waiting to happen. Today is Organize Your Home Day. So survey, sort, prioritize, reorganize, because there's no place like home. So today, maybe this evening, if you are planning your hot Friday night plans, Organize Your Home Day might be the celebration that you need.
Especially if you're celebrating with a hot pastrami sandwich, that'll give you the fuel that you need to Marie Kondo your way around your household, right?
I love this. I can see it, like a hot pastrami sandwich, maybe an adult beverage, and an organizational fiasco. I think this is wonderful. I think this is so
Fiesta
exciting.
or fiasco, either way. It can be a celebration or it can be, why did I even start this? I
I
think
do
the
want to
crucial thing, yeah, go ahead.
I do want to know, as we get people going this morning in the comments, if you are listening right now and you're by your phone or computer, I'd love to hear if you could have an hour or have a period of time to organize one area of your home. Which one would be the one that you'd be least interested in doing? Like, my closet was not an exciting thing to organize. I think it'd be much easier to organize like my home office, which is relatively clean and put together. I want to know, like, what would be the most difficult thing for you to take on cleaning? A closet it was not so much fun. Brad, what about you? What would be like the most stressful area to organize in your home that you just avoid at all costs?
Garage. The
Oh,
garage is just packed full of stuff right now. I love spending time in the garage, just puttering and doing some carpentry and some other projects in the spring and summer. So that'll be my spring project, is just like you do with your closet, pull everything out of the garage and put it back in.
I have to tell you, Brad, I feel like every home has a junk drawer. Do you have a junk drawer in your home?
We have several. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
several junk drawers. Yeah.
I do have to say that's the drawer that I never want to organize because I never know where things go in there. I everything in theory should just be thrown away. You just need the scissors that are in there that you can never find, or the stamps that are in there that you can never locate. I might avoid like my junk drawer. I think I have two of them at my house, and I don't want to even open them, to be honest.
Well, I think as educators, we might be naturally inclined to hang on to as much stuff as we can, because you never know when it's going to come in handy. I mean, in the
Right.
classroom, a child will ask, I need such and such, and oh, I just had it, or 2 years ago I had it. So you kind of hang on to just about everything. And maybe we know colleagues whose classrooms are just joyfully stacked with each and every accessory possible over many years of educating and connecting with kids. But homes can be the same way, Ray. I mean, you open that junk drawer and you find something that you should have thrown out long ago, but for some reason maybe it had sentimental value, or maybe it was like an obscure piece of that IKEA furniture that you put
Yeah.
together. Maybe it was one of those little Allen keys, those hex wrenches. You just never know when your IKEA furniture just might fall apart. You got to have that hex wrench and get it back together.
But when you need it, you won't know where it is. That's the problem. You
Exactly.
keep it, but then you're like, the moment you need it, you're like, well, I don't have an Allen wrench. I'm not going to be able to fix this.
Does
Here's
do your I was gonna say, do your
well,
junk drawers become your go-to place? So if it's nowhere else, it might be in one of those drawers.
it's possible. I have just a really big issue because I moved like, oh,
Right.
whatever it was, like, I don't know how to. I'm not going to count right now. Maybe 9 months ago, 7 months ago, I moved. So in theory, I would have had to clean out my junk drawer, because you can't just a junk drawer. You wouldn't have like picked up the drawer and moved it because it was like in my countertop in my kitchen. So I would have had to clean out my junk drawer. In the kitchen, I have a junk drawer, and there are an abundance of those magnetic, ugly rainbow alphabet letters in
Yep.
2 different languages. I have English and Hebrew. Here's my question.
Yep.
Why in the world do I have those? Second of all, why did I keep them when I moved? And third of all, why are they not on the fridge if I own them? Why do I need rainbow alphabet letters? I don't understand.
Maybe it's not a need. Maybe there's just some deep-rooted, mysterious connection to a happy memory in your childhood, Ray, where those letters in English and Hebrew were part of your formation, and they just hit right when you see them. They're just maybe they're like a comfort object for you.
I'm telling you, Brad, I have no reason why I need these rainbow letters, and I don't know why I moved with them, and I don't know why they're still in the drawer. So if anyone needs a rainbow alphabet set, I bet I'm missing like 3 or 4 different letters, but you can have it for the fair price of $2. So let me know.
Could I use my daily drop-in discount for that, Ray? I might be interested.
Absolutely, sign me up. All right. As you guys are in the comments telling us what you would love to clean out, we're getting some comments of people telling us that craft areas, the whole house, just because the kids are crazy. I do like Brian's comment is take them out and spell teach better on the fridge and send us a pic. Here's the problem. Bree, you know, with those alphabet letters, it's 1 letter per letter. So like I can't even spell teach better. There's too many T's, too many E's. It's a challenge. Maybe I need to buy more alphabet letters and I'll find a purpose for them. That's what I need to do.
Guess what Ray Hewitt's going to find in her mailbox really soon from Brad Hughes? Alphabet letters.
Terrible. I'm telling you guys, I don't need more alphabet letters. Those should all be in the trash. Brad, what's our good news story? Give me something else to distract. I'm not organizing tonight. I refuse.
Ray, if you were to pop into your junk drawer, do you think you would find among, the Allen keys and the bread tags and the letters, do you think you might find a pink pygmy pipe horse?
No, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to go with a no for that one.
A pink pygmy pipe horse and 2 guitarfish were among 70 new species discovered in 2021. And when I think of the memes describing 2021, you may have seen the meme of the trash dumpster on fire floating down, or someone in a room surrounded by flames saying everything is okay. But 2021 actually brought us a gift and a surprise of 70 new species discovered, including the pink pygmy pipe horse. And there's a picture here for those who are able to link. I'm going to pop the link in our chat right now. The pink pygmy pipe horse, and Ray, I challenge you to say that several times fast. 2 guitarfish, 14 beetles, 12 sea slugs. Sounds like a Christmas carol. 9 ants, 7 fish, 6 scorpions, 5 sea stars, 5 flowering plants, 4 sharks, 3 spiders, 2 sea pens, 1 moss, 1 pygmy pipe horse, and 1 cicalian were all discovered by Academy scientists and international collaborators in 2021. So I'm hoping that this story will give us hope that diversity of species is a thing, and that with conservation and with scientific inquiry, we can continue to bring new species to light and keep them healthy, safe, and thriving in 2022.
I love that good news story as a way to bring that. I think that would be so interesting to bring to students at any grade level. That would be interesting. You're talking about bringing that to kindergartners or bringing that to senior in high school in an English class. That is crazy. Is it silly that in 2022, it's like amazing to me that we discovered 70 new species? Like, I just feel like that number is so large. 70. That's huge.
It really is incredible. And the article goes on to say, I mean, the power of bringing it forward to our kids, especially, is when we're talking about big ideas like deforestation and climate change. What's essential, the scientists and the authors argue, is putting what they call a face to the name. So if you can bring a picture and a story of a species that's threatened or a species that has just emerged and surround that with the context for kids, putting that face to the name, personalizing, making an emotional connection, Ray, with these big ideas through new species is one powerful way to get kids involved in being determined to be conservationists and protectors of the planet.
That's so cool. And Brad, round of applause for you that you tried to pronounce all those species, because there were a lot of big words in that article, and I'm impressed. I just want you to know that's probably the worst part of hosting this show live, is that there's no editing. If you make a mistake on a word or a name like I do literally every show, it's no good. And you rocked that, just so you know, you killed it.
Oh, I appreciate that. And we're here for learning, friend. I mean, if we mess up, we're going to own it. We're going to name it. We're going to learn from it and move on. And I think the pink pygmy pipe horse. And I think between now and in addition to assembling my furniture, Ray, I'm going to be putting that list of species to the tune maybe of the 12 days of Christmas or something. It could be the 12 days of wildlife. And I'll put that to music. And maybe again, I can pop that on the Teach Better YouTube network for everyone's amusement.
I love it. You know, they've been trying to figure out how to structure our brain break on Wednesday afternoons with Jeff and Dave. I think maybe they should just practice saying all those species out loud. That would be a lot of good entertainment for me. I will say they've had terrible ideas of how to provide a break to our community. They've been watching silly YouTube videos. I've tried to fire them and they keep showing back up. I don't know what to do with Jeff and Dave, but I think if we gave them this list and said, okay, during Brainstorm Bank, you have to pronounce all these words, I think that would provide some good entertainment and structure for them. Just saying.
I think so too. It might be a way of just bringing a little bit of professionalism, a little bit of, dignity to the brain break, much needed. And I would really enjoy having Jeff and Dave debate the pink pygmy pipe horse and challenge each other to say that 10 times fast or to recite the list of species that were discovered. Yeah, why not? That could kill 5 minutes of brain cells for sure.
Oh my gosh, that is such a goofy afternoon, but it really is, it really is a break from the long day that we all have on Wednesdays. So I do love when they're live, even when it's at my expense. Brad, I do think we should get into our Brainstorm Bank, and then obviously we have our favorite commercial jingle that comes up afterwards where we get to recap the week, which is really what I want to get into. So Awesome. Are you ready to keep us going?
Catch you on the flip side.
Let's go. Morning, everyone. We're continuing with our Brainstorm Bank. We are slightly behind schedule, but that's just because we've had some wacky conversation this morning. It is Friday, January 1st.
I'm laughing. Surprise, surprise. Brad and Rae are behind schedule.
I'm sorry, guys. We just love talking to all of you. So, yes, we are totally behind schedule. But I do want to make sure we touch on this, Brad, before we get into recapping the week, because this week's theme, just spoiler alert, this week's theme, I was nervous to talk about, and you picked this topic when we were planning our weekly theme a few weeks ago. And this one was nerve-wracking to walk into. A whole week of bold conversations, that makes me nervous. Tell us a little bit about why this was a theme that you felt like we needed to have.
I think, Rae, for any number of reasons, especially teaching, leading, and learning in a pandemic, the community stress is high, and it's really, really easy and understandable to retreat to what is most comfortable and most familiar. It's actually a time when we need to surface the things that are important to us, the things even at the risk of sounding foolish or even at the risk of conflict or misunderstanding. This is a time when we have to continue to be bold and continue to bring forward the things that are on our mind, not that just make a difference for us, but that make a difference for kids. Let's talk about, for example, putting diversity, anti-racism, anti-discrimination. That's not something that we can take a back seat on at any time, but it would be really, really easy to put those conversations to the side because we're dealing with the logistics of teaching and learning in a pandemic. These are conversations, these are efforts that have to continue. They have to be centered in everything that we do. And so I was really, really excited that not only were you moderating these wonderful and bold conversations, that we had guests coming forward that were willing not only to tell us what the bold conversations are, but to give us some practical strategies for surfacing them. And that, I think, is the huge takeaway for me, is even bold conversations always have a starting point. And then if we trust ourselves to start the conversation and be willing to companion each other through them, then, they have tremendous results. But it's all about just making a start and seeing where it leads.
I was so surprised highlighting how many bold conversations we all do need to have. It's not just one topic that all of us may or may not be struggling to discuss. It is a multitude right now. And I really did appreciate that this became a theme for us this week because we're able to look at a few different perspectives of that. Brad, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, if you knew that you were going to address a bold conversation today, maybe happening in your building, in your community, or you're an extremely connected educator, maybe just within your your network, what do you think is a bold conversation that you might choose to address?
There is a conversation that I need to address with our community today, and we touched on it at the beginning of the conversation, Ray. It's we have to now make an intentional shift from the way we think things should be, or the way we wish things were, and all of the emotions and the upset and the frustration and the concern and understandable fear and worry. We have to acknowledge that, but now we have to begin to shift towards being intentional about what is within our control and what we can contribute. Everything else is out of our control. But I mean, if you've been visiting social media, Facebook, Twitter has just been on fire with controversial and adversarial conversations about the state of education, about the safety in schools, about whether it's wise or not wise to have kids in face-to-face classrooms, masks or no masks, and it's incredibly divisive. And unfortunately, many educators are right in the thick of those conversations, mostly as consumers, but sometimes as participants in these conversations that continue to escalate and perseverate on the way things ought to be, and certainly are not solution focused, not seeking solutions to how can we action our own capacity for the greater good of our kids and community. So that's the intentional conversation. That's the bold conversation that I'm going to have with staff today. And I say bold because I there is a risk of, if I don't handle this conversation delicately or sensitively there, and I'm just going to name the risk to my staff members, Ray. There is a risk of your worries, understandable worries for Ontario educators, of returning in person next week with students. There is a risk of minimizing your worries and frustrations about the state of affairs. But the reality is that we have to make sure we have a foundation of good information, and we have to be vulnerable with each other to let each other know, really, what do you need? How can we help? How can we support you through those love languages? How can we support you with practical support? And we have that's the shift we have to make. That's the bold conversation that I need to take on today, Ray, as we return in person in Ontario to schools on Monday.
Yeah, I know so many educators are struggling with, remote learning versus in person versus hybrid. That's been an ongoing dialogue. I do want to challenge our listeners this morning. I know it's bright and early. We're getting ready for a really, really wonderful, wonderful Friday ahead of us. I'm sending all my good vibes and love to all of you. This Friday is just going to be a great one. But I really love a moment of reflection. If you wouldn't mind, as you're brushing your teeth this morning, or maybe finishing up your makeup, picking up your outfit, what bold conversations might be in your morning this morning, or in your afternoon coming up. And I think we need to define bold conversations. Within this week, a bold conversation just meant that it was something that you maybe felt a little anxiety about, something that is important to discuss, but maybe there is a hurdle or a challenge before you to address that. Yes, we did have some bold conversations that were much bigger conversations, much like you're discussing, remote learning versus in-person learning, which is a really, really heavy, large topic. But I think a bold conversation could be, an anxiety that you might be feeling, to have a conversation with a parent later today, or maybe you need to go in to discuss something with your administrator later this afternoon. And really, us naming it as a bold conversation is just to emphasize that it's still something important. It's something you're going to persevere through, but it might be a little bit of a challenge. And there are a lot of those going on in our communities, and we are able to pursue through them. We are able to get support from our network and handle what we have before us. And I really appreciate that this was a week highlighting how many things we can control by bringing up these bold conversations, which is important.
I love your suggestion, Ray, in our comments. If you're watching with us live, what are some bold conversations you wish we were having, or that you wish that your school leaders, or you wish that the community members were having, that are very, very difficult to surface at this time? But not only maybe what you need to do or say, but what do you wish we were talking about? And again, we're here, in the brainstorm bank section. What do you need? How can we help? We're here to bat ideas around and maybe not provide the answer, but what I've realized in my time as an educator, Ray, is there's a range of appropriate responses. There so often we put tremendous pressure on ourselves as educators to have the answer, to know the right thing to do next, when in fact there's a range of appropriate things to do. We just have to take a next step. People are looking for a next step. They're looking for a decision. It may not be a perfect one, and let's face it, what decision is ever perfect? But that's part of what's bold for me is surfacing what is inside for your own benefit and the benefit of the community, and just putting it out there. I mean, just approaching a colleague or a school leader and saying, I just want to start by saying this is going to be difficult. This is difficult for me to bring up. So I'm going to ask you to hang in there with me. And that framework can provide the listener sort of the signal that what you need is for them to listen, and that you might stutter or stumble or backtrack or whatever. But if you just lay it out there, this is going to be hard for me to bring up, and just bear with me and just let me have my say. And then hopefully that person is going to be reflecting back what they hear and understand. And that's the step, is just put it out there.
Brad, you have no idea. Those are the types of suggestions that help me be more successful. Those are the types of suggestions that we love to provide on the show as often as we can. Those tactical strategies, you just provided us with a very safe phrase to frame a conversation that I think is so valuable. So I appreciate that, Brad. I'd love to take that mindset and transition into recapping this week, because we did have some great conversations. And if for those of you that didn't tune in every single moment all week long, we'd love to give you some moments to go check in on if you have some time later today to go check those out.
Let's do it.
All right. So we are going to head into our weekly recap. And this is our favorite little, like ditty. So I want you all to take a deep breath in. This is the moment. Here we go. Our favorite moment of our Friday shows. It just gets me going. I love it.
I'm going to put that on repeat on my drive to work this morning. It's so good.
Love it. Let's recap the week real quick. Obviously, if you guys were with us Monday, it's always Jeff and I or shenanigans that happen on Monday morning. So we were able to kind of get into slowly but surely bold conversations. I will say Tuesday, though, was so memorable because our friend, our dear friend and family member in the Teach Better community, very active in our mastermind community, Trinice, joined us, and holy moly, she is just always so fun to talk to. And it was 4 a.m. her time because she's on the West Coast. So it was bright and early for that conversation.
That was an incredible conversation. Have truly enjoyed connecting with and learning from Trinice. And not only, I mean, who she is and how she works is absolutely informed by her story and history. And in your episode on Tuesday, Rae, she explained the shifts that she necessarily needed to make, both in in geography and in school location, so that she felt that she was contributing all she could. She was really in the zone, in the pocket. And talk about bold conversations. Trinice walks the talk. She puts what needs to be put out there, and she's an incredible role model for me as a school leader. I'm really happy to know her, and was happy to dig into that with both of you on Tuesday.
Yeah, honestly, for those of you listening, if you did not tune in Tuesday, we had a really strange conversation around when you should know you should leave your job.
Yes.
And that is not what I expected to talk about, but she really dove into how did I know this was the time that I should be leaving my building or changing roles or moving across the country. And I was uncomfortable because there was a moment where I'm like, we're not telling teachers to leave the profession. Education is incredible. But her framing of the conversation was perfect. It was all about ensuring that you are in the right spot so you can best serve. And I referred to that conversation numerous times then throughout the week to give people some moment of reflection of when do you know that your time has come to change your position or your location in which you teach. And that was quite a bold conversation. So if that's something that you've considered, it might be something you want to tune into. That Tuesday episode with Trinice was awesome.
4 words stuck with me from that: kids everywhere, one you.
Yes. Ooh, powerful. Yes, go listen to that Tuesday episode. Wednesday, I thought we had a fabulous conversation as well. Seema joined us. Seema does a ton of work, and she was incredible. Her focus on bold conversation was a little bit more of what I expected for this week. It had to do with equity, best serving our students, but she did it in such an eloquent way. This is the work she does. She has her feet on the ground doing the work with educators. And I thought Seema was just phenomenal to interview. She was full of tips and tricks. And if you're looking for a part to go listen to, she had a moment during our brainstorm bank where she was giving examples of 10 things that shouldn't be said to students when they are impacted by adversity or racism or negative comments. And then she provided us with 5 things you should say or should do. And I loved her really on the ground recommendations. It was really powerful.
Burden of the oppressed is something that school leadership in my district has really been emphasizing. We never want to add to the stress load of someone who is oppressed, discriminated against, the victim of aggression. And so just being very mindful to position ourselves as listeners and learners first before making any decisions. And finally, involving the person offended in the restitution. What do you think would work out in this situation? What do you need, rather than what any of us educators think should happen?
Yeah, I will say, if you are looking for a recommendation at the very, very end of the show on Wednesdays, we always give you a resource recommendation we'd like you to consider. Her case study book is out of this world. I think every educator should have that in their library. I think that needs to be a priority for the next few years, people to consider a book study or an activity with that. I have never believed in the design of that book more. So please go check out that resource. That was Wednesday at the very, very end of the show, maybe the last 10 minutes. So definitely go check that out. And then Brad, obviously yesterday we had Shakira with us. How cool was Shakira, this 28-year-old passionate millennial teacher? And I say that because her podcast focuses on millennial educators and supporting young teachers. Talk about a girl that's going to go far in her career. Holy moly.
Truth to power, Rae. Truth to power is what we need our young educators to speak. And we also need our veteran educators to hold space for educators like Shakira, hold space for educators who are just a new level of awesome with a completely different worldview than we might be used to, because they're leveraging lived experience of the turn of the millennium. And our young educators are going to be uniquely positioned, Rae, to be servers and leaders post-pandemic, or as we shift to endemic, because this is the only education life they've known. So we've got to make space and leave opportunity for them to make a difference.
And there were a few things in that conversation, I will say, Shakira and I didn't agree on. And I thought that it was wonderful that a young educator, a very passionate educator, was sharing her voice and opinions. And I really valued that. It was a great reminder that everybody comes from a different perspective. It was a great reminder that we have a responsibility to continue to have more conversations so we can all continue to develop our holistic view of the things in front of us. One of the things I really valued about that conversation, even though we didn't necessarily agree on everything we discussed, was this concept of having bold conversations even when you don't know really what the conversation's about. One of the things that she emphasized is really needing help as a millennial new teacher, really needing support. And she didn't necessarily even know what that support looked like. She just knew it was a need. And I felt like that in and of itself was incredibly valuable, because we were able to discuss, you don't need to know the right answer for the bold conversations that you want to have. And I thought that was really important.
Rae, a couple of things come to mind there quickly. First, the result of a bold conversation doesn't necessarily need to be a resolution or a decision. It can simply be improved understanding among the people that are having the conversation. So you said, that there were some things that you and Shakira may not agree on or may not have agreed on, and that we got to prepare. That will be a part of bold conversations. But if we are leaving with a shared understanding, we may have to agree to disagree on some things, but that can also be a goal. The second thing that comes to mind, Rae, is something that I tell every pre-service, every student teacher when they do their orientation with me at our school. And I encourage all school leaders to steal this phrase. And I always tell the new teachers, yeah, you've got a lot to learn, but you've got a lot to offer. And what I want to do as a school leader and in my school community is to make it possible for new teachers to surface their ideas in a way that, because you're new, you've got a lot to learn. You want to, anyway, there are lots of understandable reasons why young teachers don't surface their great ideas or don't seek to have their ideas affirmed. Let's make it possible. They got a lot to learn. Yeah, but they have a lot to offer if we leave space for them to do so.
I love it. I love it. Please go check out those conversations because they were phenomenal. And I can only hope that next week's going to be the same. Our theme next week is inviting students into the design. We have new friends joining us all week long. Obviously, Monday morning, we start with the one and only Jeff Gargis. We will be live on Monday, even though a lot of schools will have the day off, especially in the US. But please know that we are here. So if you want to still continue to start your morning with us, especially those of you that are getting up early to head into school, please know that we will be here for you. We do have some new friends joining us as the week continues. So we hope that you choose to be a part of our conversation. I think that it's going to be a good one. I mean, I'm so excited to be able to end the week recapping it with you, and anything we can talk about involving our students in the design of our classrooms, I'm a fan of. So sounds great.
Incredible. I mean, talk about powerful communities. When kids see themselves reflected from the moment they walk into a space, not just what they see on the walls, but the vibe they feel. They know that they are community members, they're contributors, they have a voice. That to me is key. Is student voice. And as a podcaster too, I'm always intrigued by podcasters that have students in front of the microphone sharing out, what matters to them. And again, just like our new teachers, our millennials, whoever it is, holding space for those conversations and being prepared to listen first, seek understanding, and then make your own contribution. That's key. So I'm looking forward to these conversations with our new and returning guests next week too, Rae.
So good. For those of you that are live with us right now, or if you're listening to this after the fact on Teach Better Talk podcast, we do want to wish you a wonderful Friday and give you a reminder that this show is here every single morning for you. If you specifically have someone in mind, maybe a colleague, an administrator, or just a friend in the educational space that you think would be fun to include on the show, please direct message either Brad or I. We'd love to learn more about them and consider having them as a part of Daily Drop-In. We're always booking new friends, whether they've been in the Teach Better community for ages or they're brand new to our little family here. We'd love to continue to amplify the different voices and perspectives of educators worldwide. So please feel free to message us at any time with a recommendation of an educator that you are close with or an educator you follow on social media who you think would be fun to have on the show. Additionally, Brad, every single week for the next few weeks, we have big announcements coming, and next week is no different. Yeah, so please make sure that you keep an eye out for the Teach Better announcements. We will have an exclusive one-time only big announcement next week, very early in the week. And then we will have a course coming out on Wednesday. So we have a lot going on in the Teach Better Academy and in the Teach Better world. So I hope that that leaves some excitement for our network. Excited to hear new details.
There's always excitement in the Teach Better Network, Rae, and it's really about the incredible gifts that people bring to every interaction with us, whether it's online, whether it's later, whether it's video, coursework, conversations, podcasts, brain breaks. I mean, it's not just the people in front of you, it's what our contributors and our friends and family bring forward to these interactions that makes all the difference for us. So we're really grateful to be having the opportunity to connect so frequently and with so much excitement in the days and the weeks to come, Rae.
It's going to be so good. For those of you that are heading into today's big day of having students be successful, of continuing to reflect on those bold conversations and maybe even considering our love languages, we want to wish you a wonderful Friday. Brad, thanks for coming live with me. I always love chit-chatting with you. I'm excited for next week as well. And I hope everybody enjoys their last few sips of coffee as they head into maybe the best Friday of January so far. I think this is going to be a good one.
It's going to be a great one, Rae. Fridays are always special when I can join you for Daily Drop-In, and it's always a pleasure to get clearer and clearer on my thoughts and feelings and beliefs, and allow our courageous conversations, our bold conversations every Friday make me better too. So I hope that you're leaving the conversation feeling energized, just like I am, and I hope that everyone listening now or later feels the same way. This is an awesome opportunity. Thank you, Rae.
Love it. We appreciate you, friends. See you later.